What's the saddest movie you've ever seen? If you didn't say Grave of the Fireflies, then you probably haven't seen Grave of the Fireflies. This is a movie I've seen many times over the years, and it still has me fighting back tears every time throughout the movie. And it's funny, I normally don't watch sad movies over and over again. One time is enough at most, but this movie is something different. This is a movie I love to show other people. I think it's a movie that everybody should watch. And I usually bring it up as, oh, this is like the saddest movie I've ever seen, and then it gets people interested, and I end up showing it to them. And so I've showed this film to several people, and I think it's a very important one. If you're not familiar with the movie, it's a 1988 film that was animated by Studio Ghibli. Now, if you think Mononoke is the darkest Ghibli movie out there, then once again, you probably haven't seen Grave of the Fireflies. It's set in 1940s Japan towards the end of World War II, and it follows two children. There's a teenage boy named Seita, and then his little sister, who's like 4 years old, Setsuko. And in the very first scene of the movie, we find out that they're already dead. They're already dead. Yeah, it's a movie about dying children, so if you're going to watch this thing, which I hope you do, just make sure you're in a healthy mental state before you do. So the movie starts out, they're dead, and then over the course of the next hour and a half, we find out how it all happens. We kind of watch it play out in the most heartbreaking way ever, and it's a beautiful movie. It's equally beautiful and tragic at the same time, and we'll get into all that. So, two siblings, right? Their father's in the Navy, he's out fighting some battles somewhere. If he's alive, they don't really know if he's alive or dead. And their mother dies early on in the movie. She's a victim of a bombing, and it's not even a quick and painless death. She suffers terrible burns all over her body, and she dies later at the shelter, and it's very gruesome. This is not like a graphic movie. I've seen some other anime clips, depictions of the terrible things that happened in World War II, and it shows, you know, people's faces melting off and stuff. And no, this movie doesn't do that, but there are some shocking images, and moreover, though, it's just a long, drawn-out process of suffering. Now, in between all that pain and suffering, there's a lot of very heartwarming bits. We see glimpses of these kids, you know, trying to make the most of it, trying to find enjoyment and happiness however they possibly can. But every little tiny bit of joy and happiness that we see, it is quickly stripped away and replaced with more pain and more anguish and more tragedy. So these two kids are displaced, right? They decide to live with their aunt for a while until she turns out to be a terrible person, and they decide, okay, we can't stay here anymore. We're going to go out on our own. We're going to find our own place to live. So they find a little abandoned kind of, it's almost like a little cave basically, and they decide to live there, and they have some money in the bank from their mother that they withdraw, and everything's okay for a minute, but only for a minute. The world's in disarray around them, right? They're in constant fear of being bombed. There are air raid sirens going off throughout the film, and everybody's running and panicking and trying to find shelter, and it gets to a point where there are just no resources to go around. Rations are very slim. Money's not worth anything, so it's either you have something of value to trade or you can't buy any food, and it's a desperate time, and these kids are basically starving, just trying to survive, and the whole world around them is just in despair. They come across dead bodies lying around, and through it all, there's this, you know, childlike optimism, and you get these moments, like I say, these moments of peace and tranquility and kind of, you know, things might be okay, and then you remember that, no, they're gonna die. And the animation is beautiful in this thing. It is really breathtaking. Even today, this came out in '88. It looks like it could have been animated yesterday. It is really aged well. This was based on a short story, and I guess there were many offers and attempts to make a live-action film out of it, but in the end it was decided that no, we really couldn't portray the level of emotion we want if we use real child actors, and we couldn't depict the war-struck country as accurately and as well as they could in animation, and that was a good call. Although later on, I think in like 2005, they did make a live action adaptation, which I haven't seen yet, but that's kind of interesting. The animated film is just a masterpiece though. Why do I think it's important for people to watch this? Well, it really shows you just kind of the struggles that people go through in these terrible situations, how war affects the common people, the children, and what's so heartbreaking is you just know there were really people in this situation, that there were children in this situation, and there still are horrible wars going on in this world today, and we don't know the half of it. We don't know how people are living and surviving and dying, and unless you're right there in the middle of it. And thank God, if you're watching this, you're probably not, but it's eye-opening. This is a very believable depiction of Japan in World War II. And it opens your eyes to a side of things that maybe you haven't seen before, maybe you haven't thought about before. And really, I think it just makes you feel empathy. You know, again, no matter what side you're on, no matter where you stand in things, we're all human, and there's innocent people everywhere and suffering people everywhere. And the real tragedy of this story is that these kids didn't have to die. They really didn't have to die. If anybody would have shown them kindness, if anybody would have taken them in and given them shelter and food, they would have been okay. But no, the whole world was against them. The whole world looked past them, treated them badly. They didn't care. They were worried about themselves. They didn't care about these kids. The world around them left them to die. I'm not going to go into any details for the rest of how it all went down. I don't want to ruin the impact of what happens in the end or anything like that. But yeah, the tragedy is that nobody cared about these kids. Nobody did anything to feed them and shelter them. I think watching this film can make us more empathetic to others. I think that's really the message of the story. The message of the movie is just there are people out there in need, suffering through horrible things, and what do? We look away. We look away. What can we do to help those people? How can we save a life just by, you know, sharing a meal or offering shelter or help or some sort of empathy, some sort of compassion, some sort of love? It can be, you know, it could be a stranger on the street, or it could be your friends or family. You never know what people are going through, right? Check in on those around you. Check in on your loved ones. And if you see a homeless person on the street, maybe next time you have a few bucks in your wallet, share it. Who cares what they use it for? They're in need, you know? I think this is a beautiful and very tragic film. One of the saddest movies I've ever seen. Definitely the saddest movie that I've watched multiple times, and my favorite sad movie. I think, again, everybody should watch it at least once. It's eye-opening. It'll give you some perspective. It'll hit you in the heart and make you think about a lot of things. One other sad thing I will note is the company who made those candies in the movie. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. These little candies, they come in this tin. They are kind of a big part of the story. And the company who makes those in real life, who's been making them for like almost 100 years or something, they just went out of business recently. So if you want to get one of those tins of candy, now might be your last chance. Cool little collectible there. Very sad. Now people are scalping them for like exorbitant amounts online. And I mean, it's like over 20 bucks on Amazon to get one of those little tins, and it used to be under 10. So I always wanted one. I'm kind of sad, but I don't know if I want to pay that much money. But anyways, yeah, Grave of the Fireflies is a masterpiece, a timeless masterpiece. Everybody needs to see it. That's all I gotta say. It'll make you really sad, but watch it anyway. I don't care. Just make sure you're in a healthy mind state. That's about it. Next time we're gonna talk about something a lot more fun. We're gonna talk about a fun, lighthearted series from the 80s. If you want to know what that is, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching today. Take care. Have a great day. Be good to each other. Be thankful you're alive today, and yeah, be kind to one another. Thanks so much. I will see you next time.